Japanese parents do not yell at crying babies, not because they have calmer babies, not because their children are wired differently, not because of some secret passed down through generations that the rest of the world simply missed. They do not yell because they understand something about distress that most Western parenting culture has gotten completely backwards. When a Japanese baby cries, the parent does not try to stop it. They do not intervene, distract, redirect, or offer a snack to cut the emotion short. They do something that, to a Western eye, looks almost counterintuitive. They get close, they get calm, and then they wait. Not passively, not indifferently. They wait with the child, inside the feeling, as a steady presence that says without words, "This is safe. This will pass, and you are not alone in it." What this means is something the neuroscience now confirms in startling detail. A calm parent is not just emotionally supportive. They are neurologically regulating their child's nervous system in real time. The research calls it co-regulation, and it is not a philosophy. It is biology. Step 1. They treat crying as communication, not catastrophe. There is a word in Japanese developmental psychology that does not have a clean English translation, amae. It describes a specific quality of emotional dependency, the expectation that distress will be met with attunement rather than correction. Psychiatrist Takeo Doi, who documented this concept in the 1970s, described it as the emotional glue of Japanese society. Not weakness, not overindulgence, the expectation of being held inside one's own discomfort by someone who is not afraid of it. What this means is that when a Japanese infant cries, the instinctive cultural response is not to eliminate the crying. It is to be present to it. This is not small because what developmental neuroscience has independently discovered through decades of research on infant brain development is that the caregiver's response to distress matters more than the distress itself. Researchers studying mother-infant physiological synchrony have found that when a calm, responsive caregiver enters a baby's emotional experience, something measurable happens in the baby's body. Heart rate variability shifts, the vagal tone, the activity of the myelinated vagus nerve, the nerve that acts as the nervous system's brake pedal, begins to follow the parents, not remembered, felt. The baby is not learning a lesson about emotions. The baby's nervous system is literally in training to the calm one. Right now, in this moment, the biology is working. The Western reflex is to fix the emotion, stop the crying, redirect the tantrum, move past the discomfort as quickly as possible. What this actually teaches, at the level of the nervous system, is that discomfort is dangerous, that big feelings are emergencies, that the way you handle something hard is to make it stop. Japanese parenting culture, entirely without knowing the Polyvagal research, arrived at the opposite conclusion. Distress is not an emergency. Distress is a process. The role of the parent is not to interrupt it. The role of the parent is to accompany it without adding fear. This is real, and you can begin it right now. Step 2. They practice something called mimamoru, watchful waiting that is not passivity. Researchers Akiko Hayashi and Joseph Tobin spent years studying Japanese preschool classrooms. They documented a practice so culturally embedded that Japanese educators struggled to explain it, because for them, it required no explanation. They called it mimamoru, roughly translated to watch over while protecting. What mimamoru looks like, from the outside, is a teacher or parent who is doing nothing. A child is upset. A conflict erupts between two toddlers over a toy. An infant is working through frustration, trying to reach something beyond its grasp, and the adult stands nearby, present, observant, and largely still. This is not neglect. The research makes that distinction clearly. What Hayashi and Tobin found is that Japanese educators are engaging in something intensely active while appearing passive. They are reading every signal, monitoring every shift, calibrating the exact moment when intervention becomes necessary versus when intervention would rob the child of the experience of resolving their own distress. What this means is that the child is not being left alone with a feeling. The child is being watched through a feeling by someone who is not afraid of it. The difference is invisible to the eye. It is not invisible to the child's nervous system. Polyvagal theory, developed by neuroscientist Stephen Porges, explains why. The vagus nerve, the longest nerve in the body, connecting brain to major organs, functions as a sophisticated social engagement system. It is constantly scanning the environment for signals of safety or threat. Facial expression, vocal tone, body language, the calm, regulated face of a parent who is present but not panicking tells the infant's nervous system at a level beneath conscious thought, you are not in danger, not remembered, felt. Right now, as you read this, every time you have stood calmly beside a struggling child, your nervous system was doing something profound. You were becoming external regulation for a brain that cannot yet regulate itself. Step 3. They never confuse emotional presence with emotional rescue. There is a version of involved parenting that looks like attunement, but is actually something else. The parent who swoops in at the first sign of discomfort, who cannot tolerate their child's tears long enough for the child to discover anything about their own capacity, who loves so fiercely that they accidentally teach their child that hard feelings require outside rescue to resolve. Japanese parenting culture makes a distinction here that is quiet but consequential. Amae, that expectation of interdependence, of being held inside one's feelings, is not the same as being rescued from them. The research on attachment and amae describes it this way. In mildly stressful situations, Japanese mothers are more likely to attribute a child's distress to their need for connection and security, rather than to selfishness or poor behavior. The distress is interpreted as a bid for closeness, but the response to that bid is not to eliminate the discomfort, it is to accompany it. What this means for you right now is this. The next time your child falls apart over something that seems small, the wrong cup, the boundary that got enforced, the normal frustration of being young in a confusing world, the most powerful thing you can do is not fix it faster, it is to stay calm longer. Your calm is not indifference, it is biological regulation in action. Your nervous system is offering a template that your child's nervous system is, right now, trying to match, not remembered, felt. Research on physiological synchrony between mothers and infants has shown that repeated and ongoing calm interactions with caregivers literally contribute to the development of the infant's vagal regulation, the biological infrastructure of emotional control. The capacity to handle a big feeling without falling apart is not a personality trait some children are born with. It is built moment by moment, in the ordinary seconds, when a parent stays regulated so a child can learn to be. Step 4. They understand that their nervous system is the environment. Here is the part most parenting books skip entirely. When a baby cries and a parent panics, two nervous systems are now in dysregulation. The child's, because they are distressed. The parent's, because the distress is triggering. And the co-regulation that should be flowing from parent to child cannot flow when the parent is as activated as the child. This is not a character flaw. It is neurobiology. What the research shows, both in polyvagal theory and in the developmental neuroscience on infant caregiver physiological synchrony, is that the parent's nervous system is the baby's first regulator. Before the infant brain develops the capacity to self-regulate, which does not happen fully until early adulthood, the child's nervous system is borrowing from the closest available calm one. Japanese parenting culture understood this not through science, but through practice. The emphasis on parental calm, on the caregiver as a steady presence rather than a reactive one, on getting close without getting activated. These practices work because they give the child something to regulate to. What this means is that the goal of early parenting is not primarily behavioral. It is not about stopping the tantrum. It is about becoming someone whose nervous system can be borrowed. This is real. This is not a metaphor. The vagus nerve cannot take an absence. Step 5. They do not rush the ending of a feeling, the last piece. When a Japanese child is upset, and the adult stays close, and the distress moves through its natural arc, the peak, the plateau, the slow descent back to calm, something is registered that would not be registered if the emotion had been cut short. The child experiences, in the body, the fact that hard feelings end, not as a lesson, not as a memory, as a felt sense woven into the nervous system, that distress is survivable, that the worst of the feeling is not permanent, that the world does not stay the color it turns when you are overwhelmed. This is the long game of Japanese parenting, not dramatic, not visible in any single moment, built across thousands of ordinary instances of a parent staying calm while a child falls apart, built across thousands of ordinary instances of a feeling being witnessed rather than terminated. The child who has experienced this enough times develops something that cannot be taught directly, a certain internal groundedness, an ability to sit with discomfort without immediately demanding that someone remove it, a nervous system that has been, over and over, brought back from distress by something external, until, slowly, it learns to do it from within, not remembered, felt. Right now, you have more influence over that outcome than you realize, not through a strategy, not through a consequence system, through the most ordinary thing a parent can offer. You're calm, held steady, while the feeling moves through. That is the whole thing. That has always been the whole thing.